Hey there! Welcome to Small Couch Reviews. Though this couch isn't actually all that small when I'm by myself. I will be joining Jovi in just a bit, and we're going to talk about that new Spider-Man trailer. But first, let's talk about the show I just watched. Netflix's Castlevania. Based on the video game series that came out in mid-80s and is still coming out today, which I've never played a single entry. But I mean, I know what it's about, and I know it spawned a whole genre of video games named after it, like Castlevania-like games or a Metroidvania game, if you heard of that, side scroller where you're trying to do stuff. But anyway, basic premise of the game. You play as a member of the Belmont family, and you're trying to kill Dracula. So you're going through his castle to try to find him and kill him. Basic premise of the game. And if you're curious, he keeps coming back. That's how this game has so many sequels. But anyway, so Netflix takes that basic plot and expands it. And it is awesome. So I don't know if this is really going to count as a review. I kind of just want to talk about how much I like this show. I mean, it's clearly the best animated American-made show since The GOAT. But, you know, if I had to give it a score, I mean, you could throw off all 5 TVs at this. It's a 5 out of 5. Like, it is spectacular. Okay? So, this series is composed of 4 seasons of about 25-minute episodes. Very well animated episodes. Like, super well animated episodes. Like, really, really insanely well animated. Especially the 4th season that I just watched. And disclaimer, this is totally not for kids. Like, I know, at least me, when I hear animated, I'm like, oh, it's probably a cool little cartoon. No. This is just full of swearing and blood and guts and gore and people's heads getting exploded. So, disclaimer. Okay, so, like I said, this show is comprised of 4 seasons. Seasons 2 through 4 are about 10 episodes each. But the first season is only 4 episodes long. And when I first saw this, I was like, oh, what? That sucks. I'm getting robbed a season. But it actually works out well for all parties. So, like, when the studio was first making this, I imagine they probably wanted to gauge interest in this series. So, you know, they came out with 4 episodes to see how well it would do, and that way, if it tanked, they didn't waste money on a full season order. And us as the viewers, you know, these 4 episodes is less than a 2-hour investment, so you can just watch that first season and see if you're into it or not. You will be. So the first season is actually executed really well. It's 4 episodes long, like I said. And each episode introduces one of the main characters we're going to be spending time with, especially throughout season 2. So the first episode, all about Dracula. Just him. It focuses on him. And, you know, it shows you, like, his past and what he was and why exactly he's doing what he's doing, which is, you know, he's basically like, yeah, these humans gotta go. And, I mean, to be quite honest with you, after you watch it, you kind of understand where the dude is coming from. Like, if they had just left him alone, this show would not have happened. But alas, they did not, and they got to pay for it. Second episode introduces our protagonist. This is Trevor Belmont, which I think he was the protagonist in Castlevania, like, 3 or 4. I mean, again, I didn't play any of them, but for fans of the game, that's the guy that we get. Trevor Belmont. He is like the last of his monster hunting family, the Belmont family. And they were famous for basically hunting vampires and all sorts of monsters and killing them and, you know, being really, really good at it. And yeah, like I said, he's the last one there. He's really down on his luck when we meet him. He's just a drunkard, but I mean, you can tell he's still someone has that good guy hero complex in him. Because he you know, he's not like the type to like let just a couple dicks just beat up on an old man just because, you know. He wants to walk by. He really, really wants to ignore it, but in the end he just can't. And, you know, he takes care of him in a very gruesome way. So then, in the third episode, we meet our third protagonist, Sypha, who I like to imagine is like Korra if she were in Mortal Kombat. This woman is an absolute cutthroat killer. She's what is known as a speaker magician in this series, and she can basically use magic. Mostly fire and ice magic, though we see some lightning come out in the fourth season, and she just cuts people to pieces. It's like she uses magic in a way that I wish more people would. Like, it's so creative, and it's a beauty to watch, and it's again beautifully animated. So then our fourth episode, we meet Alucard, who is Dracula's son. You know, he's half vampire, half human. And he has his own reasons for wanting to kill his father. So, you know, Belmont, Sypha, Alucard. They team up, and that leads them into season 2, where they are going to try to take on Dracula and stop his plan from killing a whole bunch of humans. Yeah, so season 1 was really, really quick. I mean, you're introduced to the characters, and of course you're introduced to, like, the animation style, so I think it's a pretty quick judgment on whether or not you're going to want to watch it. And again, you will. Seasons 2 through 4 are just, they're wonderful for so many reasons that I just do not have enough time to get into. So I'm going to try to remember just the main things that I liked. Obviously, the animation work is top-notch, as usual. And you would think that, like, fight scenes in animated series are easy to do, but you'd be surprised. I mean, there are plenty of jump cuts in animations as well. Not here. You get nice wide angles of everything. You can see all the action happening. I mean, the sound effects are visceral. Like when someone's eye gets gouged out, you not only hear like the eye coming out, but like the pain, the voice acting, the pain from the voice actor, like it feels real. I mean, and then just like with the magic elements put into it, like whether Trevor is whipping his whip and just tearing somebody's head off, or Sypha's shooting a ice pick through someone and then setting them on fire before shooting them with lightning. I mean, it's just awesome. Like, it's so good. And, like, I mean, it hit me in a way I was not expecting. And speaking of Trevor, he's, like, tied for my favorite character in this series, our protagonist. Like I said, when we meet him, he's, like, an out of his luck, or down on his luck drunk, who just happens to run into some speaker magicians and decides to help them out on their mission to find Alucard, which leads to their other mission to ultimately fight Dracula. But we learn a lot about him in this series, like especially in season 2 when they go back to his childhood home. We get to see that, you know, he wanted to be a monster hunting hero when he was a child. And we find out what happened to like his family that kind of turned him off to that and got him to drinking a lot. And, you know, it kind of seemed like he was really about to just like end his life on like a really low note. And then we get to see him go from that, so like go from being a child, a wide-eyed child, to the drunk, to building his way back up to being a hero who like literally saves the world. I thought his character arc, I mean, all character arcs in this show were great, but his really stood out to me. Great protagonist for a series. I couldn't have asked for more from him. And then his relationships with his two companions, Sypha and Alucard respectively. They were both great. I mean, you get to see them all play off each other. At first, you know, none of them can stand each other. Like, Alucard and Trevor are, like, literal, like, mortal enemies, you know, a vampire and a monster hunter, and they're working together. But you see that it changes from, like, a marriage of convenience to more of, like, an actual, genuine friendship, where all three of them are really willing to, like, die for one another. Even so, it is really fun to see that process take form. That's like I mean, when you start seeing like their personalities rub off on each other and them recognizing it leads to some really good moments. Speaking of like characters developing, I mean, Dracula gets a lot of shine in this show. A lot more than you would think. I mean, we get to see behind the scenes of his quote unquote empire. And we get to see it's not like you would think, not all peaches and cream. Like, I would think Dracula is just the king of everything, and whatever he says goes. No, it's not like that. There are many opinions in his army. There's dissension in the ranks. Like Dracula wants to do something very specific. He wants to kill, or he wants to kill people, but like, it's kind of funny to say this. He's fair about it in a way, and that doesn't gel with some of his generals. One in particular, who plays a bigger part in later seasons, is like, yeah, I'm not with that, bro. Like, she's like, we should just kill whoever, whenever, and however we want. The world is just our feeding plate. And he's like, no, no, no. We're not doing it that way. We're following a very specific set of rules. And like, they're like literally arguing with the dude, which I mean, I thought was interesting because, you know, as like the king of vampires, you would think that he wouldn't tolerate any of that. But he definitely does tolerate it. And not only tolerates it, but like doesn't do anything about it. And that really surprised me. Like, this Dracula is like, he's a monster, but he's like not like a monster. I don't know if that makes sense. Dude is just not pure evil is all I'm trying to say. Even though they definitely need to stop him. But clearly, the best part of season 2, which led to the best part of the show, is the introduction of my man, Isaac. This dude had the best story arc I've ever seen in a character. And I keep mentioning story arc, I know, like, a lot, but that's really important. I mean, who wants to watch a show where, like, the character is the same in episode 1 as he is in episode last? Like, is that really a character that garners any kind of interest? Ooh. Anyway, Isaac. So, Isaac is a human. He's one of 2 humans that Dracula allowed in his army because they both want to exterminate some humans on the planet. Because they were both treated, like, really, really badly. The other one, yeah, he's not that great. His name is Hector. Yeah, okay. He's not that great. But Isaac, I mean, I like him because he's probably the easiest villain to not only understand, but like, you know, empathize with. Like, dude was whipped and abused as a child. This brother was put through it to the point where he didn't even feel it, like when the whips hit his back anymore. But the reason I like him so much is because even though he has all this hatred, it's not only hatred. Like, he's more than that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of media out there, they try to get us to, you know, to make us understand the villain. They're like, well, you know, this one thing happened to him, so because of that, everybody gotta go. And you know, like, people, like, aren't really like that. You know, I mean, they may want to get revenge or exact vengeance on that particular individual or event. But, I mean, the fact that, you know, it's because one person did something to you, you're like, you know what, all people gotta go. It's not real. And Isaac is like that. I mean, dude clearly has no love for humans when you first meet him, but it's not like he's like, oh, see human, kill human. Like, I mean, that would be stupid, and I'm glad the show didn't do that. He goes through a journey, like literally and metaphorically, of, you know, he meets both humans and monsters who start to shape his perspective on things. You know, obviously there are some humans he meets where he's like, okay, yeah, I can't deal with you, so you gotta go. And, you know, there's a certain point where you're like, okay, I don't think this dude is ever coming back to the light. But, you know, he surprises you. He does. There's one moment in particular where he meets someone who had betrayed him and Dracula. And you are rooting at this point. You're like, yes, Isaac, go do it. Kill him. Kill him. And when he decides not to, in that moment, you're like, you know what? I like that decision. Guys, seriously, it's some of the best storytelling I've ever seen in any type of media. Whether it be like movies, TV, animated, live action. Like, it's superb on another level. I didn't even hit all of the characters who get their shine in this, but there are too many of them to go through. So just trust me, it's really good, guys. I mean, so as far as pacing goes for this show, guys, it's pretty good. Like I said, the first season it's a super quick watch. Season two, never got dull. Like I said, we get to learn more about our characters. Alucard, Sypha, and Trevor are fighting their way through Dracula's hordes on their way to meet him. Dracula's dealing with his drama with his generals behind the scenes, and it all comes to a head. And in fact, season two comes to like a pretty big climax. So big, in fact, that I kind of wasn't sure how this show was going to continue, though I'm glad it did. Season three honestly was like, it was like my least favorite, but it's like it was necessary. Like kind of like how like a first act in a movie can be like super boring because it's introducing characters and has a whole bunch of exposition. Before you get to the second act, which is like the good part of the movie. Yet season three felt like an entire first act of a movie. I mean, the characters were all separated. Alucard was like an afterthought. Like his story arc had like it could have been a filler. It had no bearing at all. I really didn't care what Sypha and Trevor were doing. Really, in season three, the interesting part was the vampires and Isaac, and that was it. And then we get to season four, which I need a moment. It was so good. Season four wrapped up so well. I mentioned this show in comparison with the GOAT that is Avatar because of how well this show wrapped up. Like, I mean, it's really hard to give a satisfying ending to a show that continues for multiple seasons. Any type of show, whether it be animated or live action. And this show, like, nailed the landing. The second to last episode of season four, I will be watching that multiple times, and it will remain in my head for a very, very long time. Now, I've been gushing about what I liked, and that's pretty much everything. If there's something I didn't like in this show, it would be Hector, the other human in Dracula's army, and that's just because he was like really, really stupid. Really, really stupid. He was doing things that, like, you would just think, like, not even a smart person, a regular person wouldn't do. And it just led to, like, unnecessary conflict. So, if I had to say there was one thing that didn't work for me, it was him. But in the end, guys, Castlevania, I absolutely loved it. Highly, highly recommend it. If someone's told you about it, listen to them. It was great. So, Castlevania. Did you guys watch it? Did you love it like I did? If so, let me know in the comments, and also let me know of any other animated shows I need to check out. Alright, until next time, I'm out.